HR actions are at the heart of Interact HRMS. Interact HRMS is an HR action driven system. So all the key HR actions are user defined and can be initiated by whoever is authorized to initiate and are basically set up the way you need them. So let's look at the ones that we have defined right now. I have one for hiring, I have one for rehiring, I have one for compensation change, or for a basic salary change. So there are many different ways of doing this. Let's take a look at how this one has been defined, and then we'll show you how you use it. Here you can see that an HR action can be initiated or requested by the human resource department, by a organization unit or a department. It can be requested by an employee. So we can authorize all employees to request it, or we can limit it to a specific person only. Okay, now that HR action will consist of a number of tasks. There is no limit to the number of tasks that can be associated with it. Now in my case, I just have a very straightforward salary change that I'm going to be using here, and it has some details on the specific data that will be used. But obviously you could have multiple tasks that are associated with that HR action. It could be associated with many other elements, and you can also set up workflow rules that connect with this. So see, here are some of the types of HR actions that we can define related to attendance, contract renewals, demotion, dependent information, employee demographic changes, hiring, housing for employees, payroll details, position slots, training and visa and transfer and travel, and so on. So all these things can require an HR action to be triggered, which means that somebody will have to do something, will have to complete something, approve something, fill in some information, and that will trigger a change in the system. And when you do that through an HR action, of course, you're going to have the required backup data afterwards, and everything will show properly on in the history. So if I want to do a new HR action, we'll request one right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have somebody in HR, in fact, request a compensation or payroll change. That's the type of HR action. And it's going to be a compensation change. And we're going to do this for one of our employees, which is Stacy Jones. So the system is going to get the details. Now, first thing we need to define is this a permanent or is this a temporary HR action? So if we're going to say permanent, then I just need to enter the start date. Now I have the US date format here. Of course, we can have an international date format too. Now the request date for this HR action could be some other date. In my case, I'm going to keep it the same. But of course, the request could be different than the effective date of this. And there could be a reason. This is going to be a list of user-defined reasons. I'm going to just say that this is related to a performance review, and there could be other information here. We're just going to carry on with this, and so I'm going to change the transportation allowance to 200 and reduce the car allowance and make that 300 only. And I'm also changing the performance bonus to 700. So this is an actual change on the employee profile that's going to happen. This is a policy change for this employee that's permanent. This is not some one-time payroll change that we're making here. So I'm going to go ahead and add this. So now the HR action has been added successfully. The next thing we're going to do is have somebody approve it. In my case, I will approve it myself real quick. Now there could have been other HR action tasks associated with this, which means people might need to notify somebody and there might be some other things happening. Let's go and take a look at Stacy Jones's record. You see it's highlighted in red now because there's something that is pending initialization from the payroll because it's going to be affecting her payroll, obviously. So let's get right to the job details for Stacy. And here we will find that her transportation and car allowance are being changed effective 1st of April. And the same thing applies to her performance bonus, which will have a change effective 1st of April. Now, once we initialize the payroll, this change will be applied to the pay period during which it falls, and there's no more work to be done. So the HR action basically takes care of everything in a single screen, and these are in many ways customized screens that are very specific to the type of HR action you're trying to do. So as I mentioned, there are more than 50 different types of HR actions that you can use the system for. Let me show you one other one. If I wanted to change for that same Stacy, if I wanted to go and make a change to her position or her basic salary, which affects her basic job details, again, I'm going to choose the employee. Let's say that we will give her an increase as of the 17th of April. We're requesting this today. It's also based on a performance review that's been done. You see, now I get a different screen to fill in. It provides me with a lot of information about this particular employee, but in fact the only things that are truly editable are the salary related fields. And in my case, her payroll is monthly, so the monthly field here is available for me to edit. Let's say I want to change that to 4,500. So now we're going to add this. The HR action request has been added successfully, and we're going to go ahead and approve it. Now, if you wanted to do a different HR action related to rehiring, for example, the system could pick up all the previous details of an employee without you having to go through any new data entry. All you need is a terminated employee that you will be rehiring, and you can choose the existing profile, and you will choose the name of the employee of the list of terminated employees. For example, I have Donald Jameson right here. But if the employee is not eligible for rehire, you cannot do that, of course. So, just to show you that there are a number of controls in place that when you terminate somebody, you can choose whether they should be eligible for rehiring or not. Now here's an employee that's eligible for rehire. We're going to hire her as of April 18th. There's no reason that we're going to enter here. And the system is now saying, well, what is the request date for the rehire? Is there any particular reason? The system will pick up her old employee ID, will pick up all her old details if that's what you require. It even picks up the old salary. Now I'm going to give her a completely different salary in this case and leave everything else the same. But obviously the start date of the contract will be different. We're going to hire as of the 18th of April, and she will be hired for 2 years. Remember, we have an employment contract model set up here right now in the workflow. We will also set her payroll status right away to active, and this is all it takes to rehire an employee. That's about as simple as it can be. If there's an approval process required, then we can take you through that approval process. You can set up multiple approvers, you can set up rules that they need to follow to do so, and so on. Otherwise, you see there's a review pending right now. Once that's done, you're ready to go. The work is done, and the new employee will be in the system. That's how simple these HR actions can be, and you can set up HR actions, as we said, for pretty much anything that you can think of in Interact. HR actions can be related to attendance, to hiring, to performance management, to payroll, whatever it is. You define the HR action, whether it's a one-step or a multi-step process, whether it's a lot of data or a little bit of data. It's going to be pretty much presented to you on a single screen, so all you need to do is fill in what you require there and proceed. The logic of the system will verify everything and ensure that it's all in order.